So now moving on to section B, task B1. Into the Sunset Cruises has officers worldwide, and each office employs staff in the same job roles on the same contracts. The spreadsheet wages contains July's payment details for staff from one office. So let's first make sure, do we have something called wages? Yes, we do have a spreadsheet called wages. It has two worksheets called payments and details. Some of the functions require you to use both worksheets. So first goes as open the spreadsheet wages. Let's do that. Open the spreadsheet wages, and then it goes on to say open the worksheet payments, and then enter task B1 your name, candidate number, and set a number in the header. So we come to insert. We make sure you have opened the payment this worksheet. Come to insert, and you come to text, and you come to header and footer. And they told us to enter these details in the header. If you look over here, task B1 your name, candidate number. So we type here task B1 your name, candidate number, center number. That's done. And next, what do they say? Enter an automatic date in the footer. So what we do is we click here. Let's click on the header, come to design, and click go to footer. And here we're supposed to put an automatic date. I think they have already done it for us, but doesn't matter. Let's just say current date should be appearing there. The next, what do they say? Insert a row at the top of the payments worksheet, merge and center cells A1 to O1. So now let's go into normal view. Right now we are in the page layout view. Let's go into a normal view. They said right at the top to insert a new row. So we just right click over here, insert entire row. We have an entire row, and they said merge A1 to O1. Okay, if you look over here, so what we do is we select this, press shift and keep going to the right, M N O, and come home, click merge and center. Then insert the heading staff payment July. Okay. So type here staff payment dash July. That is also done. Then it goes on to say set the formatting of the heading to font size 24, font color white, and the shading should be dark gray. So this should be 24. Shading should be gray. So let's take something like dark gray, they said, and the color should be white. That's done. Now task B1b, Selvi wants to use spreadsheets tools to analyze the data. Okay, use spreadsheet function to display the hourly rate and contracted monthly hours. So we are supposed to display put a function which displays the hourly rate and contracted monthly hours. So if you see over here, we have hourly rate and we have contracted monthly hours. We are supposed to use a function and get the data here. So if you look over here in the second worksheet, it tells us if the pay grade is 1, the hourly pay rate is 20 pounds, and the contracted monthly hours are 160. So if you want to get this information over here, you have to use the VLOOKUP function. So we come to formulas, and we come to VLOOKUP. We open VLOOKUP, and the lookup value, the value that we are looking up, is the pay grade. And what we do is the answers for pay grade. So when you come out to the VLOOKUP, we are checking the pay grade, that is B3 column. We are taking this value, and our answers, table array means where are your answers kept. So our answers are inside the details worksheet in this particular range. Okay. And if you look over here, the next question goes as column index number, which means the answers for it are in which column. Okay, so right now we want the hourly pay rate to appear, so that is in column number 2. So we say column index is 2. Okay, and then there is something called range lookup. There are two possible values, either true or false. True means if you put the value true, it means anything that is somewhat similar to the lookup value, accept it. And if you say false, it means exactly whatever is there in the lookup value, that is B3, whatever is there, exact value of that, the corresponding value should be taken. So since we want the exact value, we will say false. It is not compulsory to fill this. You can even leave this blank, or else if you want, you can put false. Now remember one thing, as you keep replicating this formula, this address is going to change. But we do not want this address to change. So we have to use absolute cell reference, which basically means we have to lock these cells. Okay, so to lock it, what we do is we press F4. If you're using a laptop, you'll have to press F and F4 sometimes. Once you press F4, you see a dollar comes before A, a dollar comes before 2. So that particular address is locked. It will not change if you replicate. Also, C has to be locked, so we press F4 before C as well. You'll see a dollar appearing before C, a dollar appearing before 5, which means the address of C will also not change. This address is locked. It's an absolute cell reference. It does not change when you replicate. Now, this address, of course, we want to change. As we pull it down, we want to keep on changing. It needs to keep coming down. Okay, so we will not be locking this. Let's click OK. And here it comes. The hour date is 20. Let's replicate it for the others. Pull it down. And you can see, yes, the values are, the hourly pay rate is appearing. Okay. So now the next thing is the contracted monthly hours. Okay, now the contracted monthly hours, again, based on the pay grade, the monthly hours have been defined. Okay, so let's use VLOOKUP again. We come to insert a function. We open VLOOKUP. And what are we looking up? We're looking up at the pay grade again. And the answers for it are inside the details worksheet from here to here. Remember, this time the answers that we want are in the third column, which is contracted monthly hours. So we say column index is number 3. And this will also be false, or you can leave it blank even. And make sure to lock these. Okay, F4, and this is also F4. It's locked. That range does not change. You click OK, and as you can see, if you double click on that, the monthly hours appear. Okay, that is done. Next is calculate the total hours per month. So basically, you are supposed to just put the function. Okay, calculate the total hours per month. So where is the total hours per month? Total hours per month comes over here. So if you look over here, how do you calculate the total hours? You can see week 1 so much, week 2 so much, week 3 so much, week 4 so much. The total will be equal sum. You open brackets, you select the range, add the values from here to here, close it, and you press enter. It gives us the values. Okay, and then you replicate it for the others. You just double click over there. That is done. Next is calculate the overtime pay. Okay, calculate overtime pay. So that function comes over here. Overtime pay. How much should be paid for overtime? If you come over to details, you will see that the overtime rate is 1.5 times whatever the amount that is paid per hour. Okay, so now we need to. This takes the difficulty to understand this. This particular, for example, a manager is being paid $20 per hour. But if he works overtime, this will be multiplied by 1.5. Okay, that's the rate. Overtime rate is 1.5. So it will be 20 times 1.5. Okay, so we want to know how much of overtime this particular person is getting. So what we will be doing is, first we have to check whether the person has any overtime hours, isn't it? If he has overtime hours only, he will be eligible for overtime pay. So first we have to first check whether this is greater than 0. Is this value greater than 0? So what we do is, we put an if function, open if function, and we say check whether this value is greater than 0. Okay, if it is greater than 0, take this value, multiply it by the hourly rate, and multiply that by 1.5. That is what they told, right? If there is any overtime, the hourly rate will be 1.5 times. Okay, so what we did is, we told, take the K3 is the number of overtime hours worked, multiplied by the hourly rate times 1.5. If it is false, you just put a 0 there. That's all. Click OK. Okay, and then we replicate it for all the others. Okay, then what are we supposed to do next? Enter formula to calculate the contracted pay per month. Now we are supposed to enter a formula to find the contracted pay per month. So the person is being paid £20 per hour. He's supposed to work 160 hours. So how much will he be eligible to receive? Equal this value, how much he is paid per hour, multiplied by the number of hours, will give us his contracted pay per month. Okay, we replicate it for the others. That is done. Next goes as overtime hours worked. So now we need to see how many hours he has worked overtime. So now for a month he is supposed to work 165 hours. I'm sorry. For a month he is supposed to work 160, but in total he has worked 165. So how many hours has he worked overtime? Very simple. Equal the total hours he has worked minus how much he is supposed to work. Okay, so this particular employee has worked 5 hours overtime. Okay, so let's replicate it for the others, and you can see some employees have not done overtime, some have 15, 14. Okay, various answers are there. Then the gross pay has to be calculated. Okay, gross pay has to be calculated. Gross pay will be, so gross pay will basically be what will his gross pay be? Totally how much is he supposed to get? Equal his overtime pay plus regularly how much should he be paying? Regularly how much should he be paid? He is contracted to be paid 3,200. So 3,200 plus we put the overtime. That will be his gross pay. We replicate it for all the others. Then there is something known as tax to be deducted. If you come to details, it says that there is a 20% tax that all employees will have to pay from their salary. Okay, so what we have to be, now we need to calculate the tax to be deducted. Okay, so these employees, when they earn 3,350, they have to pay 20% tax. So we need to know how much of tax they need to pay. So this particular employee, what we do is equal this value times 20%. Okay, press enter. It comes to 670. Okay, and now let's replicate it for the others. So this is the tax that each of these employees are supposed to pay. From their total pay, 20% they have to pay. So now after tax is, now the next question goes as net pay, to calculate the net pay. So now after the tax, how much do they have to pay? The final amount they have to pay will be very simply this value minus how much of a tax they have to be paying. Okay, so at the end they get an amount of 2,680. Okay, they are supposed to be getting this much, then there is tax that they'll be deducted, so at the end they'll be receiving this much. Okay, so it goes on to replicate all functions or formula for all the job titles. We have already done that.